Yeah. Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everybody. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
That's right. And Johnny Sue is still spinning on the ones and twos. So people are asking today on Slow News Day today, as Whitney Webb was just laying the fire on us. And if you haven't gone and watched that show, go back and watch it. It is amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Can't think service level. We got to go a little nuanced. And they give you all the receipts, connect all the dots. This ain't conspiracy theory. This is real theory. Check it out. It was a great show. But a lot of people were on the chat asking how was the Chinese food last night. So I think you should talk about the vegan Chinese food that I made last night. The fried rice with the vegan
There's
meat.
a lot of carbs, but it was all right. It was decent. Yeah.
Teriyaki tofu. You clean the plate. Johnny had seconds.
Doesn't matter. It's just.
This is BS, guys. This is BS. Guys, like, share, subscribe. Get over to the Rokfin. Right now, we only have a few watchers. I don't think they're getting the news out there, so we need you to help us out.
When you have the title, Secretary of State Alex Padilla trying to change laws against election
He
integrity.
is trying to change laws against obtaining voter data information. We're going to talk about it. There's a press release. There's a memo. There was a hearing. This is nothing. We're reporting on the news, fam. We're reporting on the news. But I just want to let you know I got my Julian Assange bracelets right there. Ready for that. Action for Assange and the Haas.
Hi, Kathy Looney.
Yeah, Kathy. She's loony. Kathy, we dropped the Trump interview with that person that you requested. Probably should have been more pushback, but I was interviewing, so I wasn't there to...
That's what I said. I said I possibly should have pushed back a little bit more. I would have liked to see it, but, you know.
I was interviewing him. And don't worry, I got John from Kansas. Yes, I'll make Chinese for you, Kathy Looney, on the chat, on the Rokfin chat. I got John from Kansas's information, and I want to push back on him. I'm going to have a little show with him, and we're going to talk. But, I like the good things, the positive things he was saying, the fact that he was saying that we have more in common than we do apart. There's always going to be people on the fringe, but we got to understand that we're in this together. And I do feel that way, fam, overall, macroly, because I think there's a bunch of elitists that are running this planet that, have all the resources, which means they have all the control. And the best way that they maintain control is keep us divided and fighting amongst each other. Is that a bad theory?
No, it's not a bad theory. We just have to be careful not to overlook other people's concerns.
Absolutely.
So.
I knew you would say that and stuff.
I mean, it's true. I mean, sometimes it feels when people say that they're glossing over very real problems that we still have to deal with. And that's when I say, when I'm talking about how not every single person was that was at the Stop the Steal protest was a Nazi. I mean that, like, not every single person that was there was. I don't like that, but I also don't like excluding the other perspective where it's like there obviously are issues in this country that are we're still reeling with racism. That I think if we say, oh, we just need to worry about this issue, they have to understand too. If you want people on your side, you have to come from a place of understanding. So that's why.
Absolutely. But I still think the masses aren't looking at what the elites are doing too as well.
No, they're not.
When we start talking about stuff in the memo of that the last bill, how they had money set aside to repair the Capitol, that's got to make you stop and think.
Yeah.
And when they talk about, we're fighting fascism, but realize what our country did. They talked about today on that Whitney Webb show, the Nazi draft, that after World War II, all the NATO countries that are of today were licking at the chops to get each scientist to come over with them to help them plan for future wars and future control. And that's something that can't be overlooked. Operation Paperclip has been declassified. You can look it up and take a look at what's going on. Let's not get too much into that. Let's stay in our lane, fam. But we want you to like, share, and subscribe. If you haven't gone over to the Rokfin, please do. ROKFIN. Share this right now. Let's get this out. We only have 45 watching. That's a little unusual for the Convo Couch. Not hyping our numbers, but usually we got a lot more than that right about now. That's why I'm trying to talk a little bit before I get started on the first subject. But yeah, that is that. Paperclip and Condor, says Ray F. Thank you so much.
Yeah, people need to start looking into the security state more and what the CIA and three-letter agencies have been doing behind the scenes while distracting the masses with psyops, or you can call them false flags. I haven't seen everything that Whitney said this morning, but I agree with her take on it 100%. I mean, I was saying very similar things as just somebody that was there. And I was getting extremely attacked for even saying that. So I really like hearing her perspective because it reinforces the fact that I'm not crazy and the fact that there are so many things that we need to question. I mean, why are we trusting all of a sudden in the FBI that lied to us and has lied to us for decades? Why are we trusting all of a sudden in the government and these big tech and massive corporations to tell us what is real and what isn't, when they constantly lie to us and they constantly work in tandem with the state to form a certain narrative? Like, why would we all of a sudden trust these things? Why am I seeing the left turn into a bunch of authoritarian cops by saying, oh, I talked to my uncle and I told the FBI about him? Like, what? Like, no matter what, like, being a snitch for the police state to me is disgusting. It makes you a cop. And then you have these idiots online gaslighting and calling us the cops and the fascists. It's typical CIA operative behavior. I'm telling you, like, this is just like, it's a threat when you talk about unifying the working class. That is like the threat that really like kills people. Like, when you are a political figure like a Malcolm X or a MLK or a JFK or an RFK or Fred Hampton, you're a threat because you're talking about unifying the masses against the oligarchy. And once they lose that, once they get you to stop fighting each other, or once you stop fighting each other, they're shit out of luck, because there's not that many of them, and there's a lot of us. And so that is why I think there are so many threats and so many attempts to discredit voices of dissent now more than ever, because that's where we're headed to next, is this crypto fascism full takeover, especially with the Joe Biden administration, who received so much money from the surveillance state and the big tech.
Everybody talks about what's your definition of fascism, what's your definition of fascism, and you got a guy like Walsh starts reading off this list. No, the main definition, and I should know this, fam, because I'm 66% Southern Italian, Benito Mussolini, it says when the state and corporations merge together. That's what it is. It's the merger of the state and the corporation. And that includes our media, so there's only one voice. It's not the fact that they just shut down our voices. They put up their voices, so that therefore they insert the imperialistic education mentality into your brain, and you go with it, and you say it's the Trumper who's the threat, it's the BLM person who's the threat, it's the Proud Boy who's the threat, it's the Antifa person who's the threat, which at the end of the day, not excusing any of the problems and the issues that come with all these groups, but there is a group of people at the top who are pulling the strings, and by keeping us divided, they run off with all that. I know I'm repeating myself, but hey, let's just get into it. Right now we have 87 people watching on YouTube. So do us a favor. Like, share, subscribe, share this on Twitter. Let's get the news out real quick. The Convo Couch is live because somebody said they weren't getting notifications, and it's what it's looking like right now. There's no notifications. We have over on the Rokfin Super Rays yesterday were amazing. So were the Super Chats. We have, how many watching? Give me a number here. Devo's over there hanging out. I quit Google, Facebook, Walmart, Amazon, YouTube, the GOP, the DNC, quit them all. We got 10 people watching, including Kathy Looney. Hit that like button over there. Hit that thumbs up. Hit that share. Let's get this news out there. You guys ready to get started with the show?
Yeah.
Oh, fam, don't give me that shaking head no and stuff like that. Okay, so let's talk about this. So despite being sued on the federal level for election negligence of sorts, different lawsuits out there in California, we have our good friend Raji Robb as well that just went through his lawsuit. Alex Padilla intends on making it even harder for anyone to gain more transparency into our California elections. How's he doing this? Well, Senator Padilla has recently proposed some rule changes that will give the Secretary of State or the county election official, whoever's in that position, more individual veto power to deny requests for registration data. We have an article up over here. And now this is kind of funny because people are going to say, oh, this is only a right-wing source, whatnot, and stuff like that. I'm going to say this much. This particular group, the EIPCA, which is Election Integrity Project, they even told me when we were having discussions, because I talked to election integrity activists across the board, from Betty Smith, who's been on the show, to Dr. Shiva, to Tim Canova, to my good friend Robin. We've talked to everybody when it comes to election integrity. This particular group is the one she set me straight, Linda Payne. She says, Pasta, stop saying this is a bipartisan issue. This is a nonpartisan issue. That's how they look at it and stuff. So they are big guard dogs, I should say, of the registration that goes on, the registration books, because they always are the ones who come out with reports and saying this many dead people had voted, this many people who were reported they had moved had voted. They give us that data on that over there. Now they're in a lawsuit now with a bunch of candidates like James Bradley and some of the others who are saying they're suing them for, once again, changing the laws without going through the bodies, the legislation, on sending out mail-in ballots everywhere. So this article talks about it. Now, Alex Padilla has is proposed some implementation of some rules changes, which he has to go through the 45 days process of venting it with the public, let them come forth with arguments. They forced a hearing. It was a Zoom hearing. Only 2 people spoke, but there was a bunch of citizens who also wrote letters. But this is what it's all about. I want to start off with the article first because we went right to the documentation. It gets a little bit confusing. So let's read this here from the California Globe. Kathy Grimes, who writes about this. California Secretary of State proposes regulations restricting access to voter registration data. The Secretary of State asserts vast discretion to refuse to provide voter registration information based on reasonable belief. I believe that you're going to use this for false pretenses, so I'm not going to give you the data if it's being requested for unlawful, false, or fraudulent purposes. And it's kind of funny because I think the second segment today, we're going to talk a little bit our good friend AOC and saying it's not right for people out there to just blurt out disinformation and lies and fake news. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've said this before on this channel. It's not for Silicon Valley or your elected officials for you to decide what is real and what is not. That's for you, the public, to decide what is real and what's not. The whole form of suppressing speech, and in this particular case, fam, now they're suppressing data. So once again, they're going to try to pull away from even more transparency.
Right.
Your
so they're
initial
gaslighting.
Thoughts.
They're gaslighting is basically what they're doing. They're saying, "Oh, well, you're going to use this for, like villainous purposes. You're going to use this for corruption, for fraud, etc." While they are the ones that are lacking, at the very least, lacking in transparency. At the worst, acting in complete and total fraud, and have zero commitment to any sort of integrity in our elections. The fact that we can't look into our machines, that we can't look into this data, is a problem regardless of your political ideology. It's an American problem. It's an American issue, and the fact that they are using that this distrust and this sense of, oh, well, you can be fraudulent to prevent us from looking into this is a ultimate level of gaslighting the public.
Yep.
Because it turns you into being the conspiracy theorist. It turns you into being the one that is actually the one that's questioning. It's your American duty to question. It's your right. And it turns you into being the one that is asking or pushing disinformation. And that's how they attack you. They discredit you to say you're doing something wrong, so you can't look into what they're actually doing that's wrong.
Fam, amen. Johnny, before I go reading into this here real quick, you have been so heavily involved with Raji's case. At the end of the day, what Raji's looking for is some data, information. He wants to know who did what, when, because it's in the public interest and it's our elections. Your initial thoughts on this when you're hearing about this right now, this new information?
Yeah, I don't think any government official should be able to withhold public information, based on reasonable belief. This is like the biggest bullshit. This is completely like, people have been protesting the overreach of the government for years now, for decades now. I remember watching this RFK documentary about how the police chief arrested these protesters because he thought they were going to incite a riot.
Yeah.
So they arrested them without them doing anything, right? So what's that called? It's
it was
it's like arresting without provocation or something like that.
Something like that.
It's almost George Bush's preemptive attacks. We're going to attack them before they attack us. And I remember the video we're watching.
Yeah.
Minority Report, right? Before they commit the crime. Because I remember them questioning, it's like, you arrested them. It was Kennedy, right? I think Kennedy was saying, you arrested these people that didn't know anything. Well, they were gonna.
Exactly.
Hello, you live in the United States of America, whatnot. And this is another example of that. Guys, I've been a little bit down about everything that's going on, and even watching Whitney Webb's show and some of the stuff she talked about, how right she was on so many of these things. And once again, connecting the dots. There was a reason why they took down the last American vagabond, right? Mm-hmm. He's too on point. You know what I'm saying? And I woke up a little proud today at the Convo Couch, being that our number one issue is election integrity. I'm not saying we don't care about other issues, but what we're experts at, where a lot of people lean on us, is the elections, because it is the ultimate mechanism of where we have the illusion of a democracy. So with the fact that we're working on that mechanism right there, and that we're great at this stuff, and I will say that we are great at this stuff, we know what's going on. We study these elections. Have you seen this report anywhere out there, ladies and gentlemen? No, you haven't, but we are, because we're in line with all the people who study our elections across the board. And it smells like sour cheese every single step of the way when you're saying, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? What are you hiding? Why are you giving this information? I've said this the whole time, and I've watched all these goddamn hearings. I'm not going to talk about the previous election because I want to just talk about the mechanisms and the structure we need to change, and I'm writing a handbook about that. But the fact is, why aren't they giving us this data and this information? An audit itself, we would have been able to find out stuff in 2 or 3 days, what was real, what was fake, and give real results, but they never let us in, fam. Yeah. Doesn't that mean anything?
Well, and what's scarier is the fact that now, because of what happened at the Capitol, that is the excuse that they're using to crack down on anybody questioning the integrity of any election, whether it is a presidential election, congressional, local. Now that sets a precedent for them to say, and it's not a legal precedent yet, but believe me, these are the attempts they're doing to do that. It's made a mockery out of our elections, meaning if you question our elections, you're automatically a QAnon person, you're automatically a Trumper, you're automatically a right-winger, or now a domestic terrorist. You are siding with fascists by questioning the fascistic nature of our elections. And that's all we're saying here. The fact that even we've been attacked, that people called to deplatform us for questioning these elections should, at the very least, concern you that they don't want people questioning elections on air. They don't, because the way we do it, we don't put our ideology into questioning the elections, which is, I think, what the right did many times, and where they lost a lot of people was they started with the whole communist China, Venezuela, Maduro, Hugo Chavez ghost, illegal immigrants, all of these things that distract from the actual number, the actual software, the actual reality that there is no procedure, check and balances in our election system. And so when you automatically, what do you do if you are a intelligence agency or an intelligence entity? First, you have to discredit the witness. So discredit anybody ever questioning the elections. Donald Trump shouldn't have been the one doing that. It should have been Bernard Sanders. And because it was Donald Trump, of course, his ideology came with it. And now, even though Trumpers, you have every right to question your elections. Now, because of the way it was manipulated, now you are looked down as ignorant, as a conspiracy theorist, and we have to stop that. We're not going to stop talking about elections. We're treading very carefully because we don't want to get shut down.
I know.
But at the same time, it's like, you're not going to censor me like that, motherfuckers. We'll put it on Rokfin. We'll put it somewhere else where you can't silence the voices of dissent, because if Trump proved, which he won't, and none of these people will in government, we have to prove it. If we prove that our elections are completely corrupted, that there is no democracy, that, they were like, oh, the democracy, it undermined the democracy. What democracy? For so far from what I've seen, there's no freaking democracy in our election system. So there's nothing to save as far as that, because your votes aren't counting. And if they are counting, they're being manipulated a certain way. And that goes from the very, very bottom, from the assembly district elections, where they bust people in, all the way to the tippy top in the presidential elections. And election rigging, election fraud is across the board practice, across the board, no matter who, they do it, especially because we have a duopoly and both parties carry so much power.
It's the establishment, fam. You've been talking about it for a long time. This ain't about the left and the right. This is about the group of people who are maintaining the control of the people, and they emerge with the big tech and the security state, and that's scary. You know what I'm saying? All the receipts are there. And so let's talk about this a little bit more. It's kind of funny because we're talking about the Trump rally. He comes out to, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. It's like, you guys are here protesting elections. You're not free. They just chose a person for you guys. Yeah. Wrong song.
Yeah.
Pick a new song.
Yeah.
But see, that's the whole problem with the Trump situation is that all these people are like, oh, we're the greatest country to ever live. It's great and stuff. I'm not saying there aren't great things about this country and stuff.
You can't be the country. Yeah, you can't be the greatest country that ever lived and then also simultaneously be cheated on your elections and be told you're a lunatic for questioning them. I'm sorry.
And I was just gonna say also too the fact that like when they talk about like the guy with the Uyghurs and stuff with that thing I was talking about, it's like, listen, ladies and gentlemen, we caused that problem. Look up Operation Mongoose. It's been declassified. It's out there. We ran all our Stinger missiles through this part of friggin' China into Afghanistan, and we radicalized these people. That's on us. We never talk about that. You know what I'm saying? That's the one problem I have with a lot of Trump people sometimes is that they don't think their shit don't stink. We got to build a wall and keep all this, keep us safe. Well, how about we pull out of freaking South America by propping up all these corporations that turn these countries into mad freaking zones? Because we destabilize their government, because they want to nationalize their banana and give their people education and healthcare, but we take it away from them for the corporate interest, and now it's turned into hellhole, and they're coming here. Let's handle our own shit first, ladies and gentlemen, and that's something that needs to go out to those Trump people, and the same Trump people who are saying like, oh, well, you gotta stop with this communism, socialism thing. Well, listen, ladies and gentlemen, 50 years ago, the average worker was making so much more than they're making today. You're not addressing that through your capitalist mindset. Okay, and that's why these people out here are protesting. It's not just because they're protesting for capitalism and communism. They're starving, and they see us wasting money on going to bomb people instead of taking care of people at home. So you have to fix that entity too as well. There's a lot of work to be done. I don't want to get off the whole thing going back, but I'm proud to be American. Donnie knows, thank you so much. New story in the hearing that the IMF wants to tie credit score to an internet search history. They want to have a social credit score too, as well, ladies and gentlemen. Donnie known, she left the link up there. Thank you, Donnie known. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution, and thank you to all of you people watching now. Get over to the Rokfin. Let's get back to this article real quick, because it kind of lays it out. On the heels of a very contentious presidential election, California Secretary of State Alex Padilla, soon to be senator, has proposed regulations to restrict access to the voter registration data. Why would he want to do that, fam? This is a very contentious maneuver, which will only further prevent members of the public from being able to validate legitimate California voters, which is obviously the motive for the change. Okay, right. So he doesn't want them to point out their shit. Remember, we were saying that there are other ways. When I was first talked about election integrity, fam, one of the first persons I sat down with, she told me, Pasta, get this through your head. They attack the establishment. They cheat in a web of ways, 5-6 ways, right? Whether they're flipping stuff, whether they're stuffing the ballots, whether they're suppressing people with provisional ballots, whatever the case may be, they're going to attack in many ways. So by the time the election integrity activists catch up to 3 of those 6 ways, they still got 3 other ways running. Well, that's another way we saw them doing what they were doing this year. We saw ahead of time that the Democrats were preparing to cheat because inside the HEROES Act, Nancy Pelosi wanted to strike down an amendment from the HAVA Act, the Help America Vote Act, that said that they didn't have to verify their signatures on 32 out of the 35 states.
Yeah,
that's why Donald Trump were like, get out of here. We're not signing this bullshit. This is not about the money. This is about you trying to change laws. So we knew they wanted to stuff the ballot box with what? Using the COVID to shotgun out all these ballots. But people who are not even around, who are not alive or have moved, that are on that voter registration ballot, which these people here are talking about. They want to look at the data to see who's what. And then they got all these extra ballots. And it's not just used for Donald Trump to cheat Donald Trump. It's used to cheat Maria Estrada, Angelica Duenas, Raji Robb, Shahid Buttar. It's also used to cheat them. That's why we got in this fight. So what are they trying to do right now? Further, like I'm saying, across the board. Further do this. The Election Integrity Project California announced this proposal Wednesday, asking Californians to weigh in, and some of them did, but not enough. Then shared their own analysis of Padilla's proposal, which would only further constrain the use of such important data. The timing of Padilla's proposal is interesting, given that the EIPCA just filed a federal lawsuit against Alex Padilla, California Secretary of State, Xavier Becerra, who I think is going to be the next Secretary of State, okay, California Attorney General, Gavin Newsom, the state of California, and 13 county registrar of voters for having violated election clause, the equal protection clause, the due process clause, and the guarantee clause of the U.S. Constitution. So what do they do, fam? they retaliate. You want to sue us? We're going to go after you. We're going to restrict you even more, right? We're going to take away your mechanism of checking our work. We're not going to be transparent. We're not going to let you look at these voter rolls now. We're going to make it illegal, and I'm going to give the power to those 13, you see those 13 county registrars? I'm going to give them a power to say, nah, there's reasonable belief you're using this for a bad way. What are they going to tell you? Oh, guys, I can't let a bunch of Trumpers, right-wingers, get information over here in this voter registration because I don't want them going to Democrats' house and threatening them.
Or I can't get a bunch of these crazy socialists, progressives that are going to go and do something crazy and radical. Like, it's the same thing. Because whatever goes on them goes on us in the end. And it's just funny to me that these little Democratic Party minions that are always criticizing and mocking us are so involved in the Democratic Party. And their attempt to discredit us is just so unhinged. And this is our data. Fuckers.
Yeah,
like
this is our data.
This is our data. Are you like, how stupid can you be? We have every right to look at these into these machines to get this information. It's just not rocket science. It's really
our
simple.
Data.
It is our fucking data. So the fact that they're doing this is actually unconstitutional. Yeah. And I wish that, I were a lawyer, that I were somebody that could challenge this in a court and say, this is actually a violation of our constitutional rights, because it is our right to have transparency in our elections, to have a system that we trust the government. Like, this is why people overthrow governments all over the world, because they don't trust the government is doing their job. And so when you're making a corrupt mockery out of the very thing that supposedly binds democracy, the ability of Americans in a constitutional republic, as many people on the right say, we're not even that. We're a fucking oligarchy because we don't even know who we choose. Think about why the people in power don't represent you on either end of the spectrum. Think about why the people in power don't represent populist ideas. Populist ideas like single payer are very popular. Why is it such a big deal to even bring it to a floor vote? It's not because you're not voting for the people you want. It's because the people you want aren't getting elected because they're being selected.
Well, and this
all goes from the bottom up. Fam.
I was just about to say, because they're not being elected, they're being selected. Convo Couch, we share the same wavelengths over here and stuff. Woo! Let's get into it really quick in the article. Really quick, Johnny. I just want to go over basically some of the. I want you to understand what's going on and see what it is, because it's not just the EIPCA or the EIP and the Election Integrity Project California. It's not just them requesting data and stuff that they can withhold it from. It's candidates, right? Mm-hmm. So now I run a grassroots candidates and I want to check the voter registration rolls to make sure that everything's okay. Now they can deny it from me. So it says withholding vote, and this is number one reason, withholding voter data deemed requested for unlawful, false, fraudulent, or illegitimate purposes proposed. Regulations 19004C asserts that vast discretion to refuse to provide voter registration information based on the Secretaries of State's reasonable belief. He has a belief. He can act on it. He can deny you information because his reasonable belief that is being requested for unlawful, false, or fraudulent purpose to promote the conduct, an illegitimate object or purpose, or is being requested or submitted in bad faith. And that's what they're going to say. Oh, they requested this information in bad faith. I don't trust them. Who are they?
Who has
domestic terrorist?
Just the same way that the government nor a corporation has the right to decide whether or not the information you're hearing is false, or you should be hearing it. You have the right to decide that. No, they don't have the right to impose their own reasons for you wanting to look at what you're allowed constitutionally to look at. Yeah. It's just that goes along with everything that we've been saying. It's consistent. You see, there's no consistency in what the oligarchy and these fascists, frankly, are trying to accomplish. There's no consistency. They manipulate the law depending on when it's convenient for them. And they're trying to do this. They're doing this right fucking now while everybody's distracted with Orange Man Bad and the terrorists and AOC fearing for her life. Oh my God. She was so freaking scared. People think like I'm being rude by saying that, or that Dick Medhurst is being rude by saying that. We just don't buy her fucking shit. We just don't buy it, dude. Like we don't. And so if somebody was genuinely fearing for their life, and I can be empathetic on that, absolutely. We were actually likely in more fucking danger because there could have been a freaking trampoline. And that's why I didn't want Jonny to get all the way up there. Even though now, next time, I want to go and I want to get some footage and I don't give a shit.
Oh my God! Whitney said, "Don't go to the Capitol."
Sorry, Whitney, I gotta get the footage.
All right, so
but I'm just saying, like, I think like this whole thing, like, it is an attack on us, and it's an attack on dissent from the election integrity issue, which now they killed two birds with one stone via censorship and no questioning of election integrity. And these are the two issues that are the most unpopular on the left, which is why they could easily, the establishment could easily just subdue them with it. Because they never give two shits about Julian Assange. They've never given two shits about election integrity. So, of course, the left is going to go fall right in line. The left, like the authoritarian left, they're going to fall right in line with this stupid narrative that's so false you can smell it a mile away. And they're not going to do shit. They're going to welcome and cheer for more censorship and call this a conspiracy theory anytime we question our elections. It is all part of the same fucking weaponizing of these issues and the gaslighting against us.
It's fam. It's just not a national problem. It's a world war problem. We gotta root out these domestic terrorists, these nationalists. They're terrible. By the way, Carrie Mark over on the Rokfin giving us a super ray. We love you. And Denny McCartney saying, keep following the truth. Well, I'm going to keep following the truth. Thank you so much, brother. Take a look at this part over here, because I also want to say at the end of number 1, as it comes up, right? Okay, it says this provision could be abused against candidates, which we just talked about, and who challenge the conventional wisdom about any policy issue, right? So think about it. Oh, now we're going to deny this person. We don't like this person on a policy issue. We're going to keep them down. This is the establishment maintaining their power, as well as election integrity advocates who doubt that voting by mail is safe and secure. We've talked about this the whole time, ladies and gentlemen. You know, Jimmy Carter said years ago, he's put his foot in his mouth, that this is the area that's most ripe for fraud. It is. It busts the chain of custody open, which is one of the most important things. Maintaining the chain of custody is maintaining the integrity of our elections. That's what we talked about with Dr. Rebecca Mercury, not meaning to say these other names, but she's an expert on security of mail-in finances and mail-in ballots and stuff. We don't even have basic tracking in these ballots, and we talked about this. Basic tracking. You know, if Amazon's down the street delivering us some cassava, some powder, or another thing that Jonny needs for the studio, or whatever you want to get, we know where it's coming around the corner. We can't do this with our ballots. We can't do this with our ballots. How easy that is. They don't do it because they don't want. I can
track my Uber Eats far more than I could track my ballot. Doesn't that bother you guys?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, regardless of what you believe about what happened with Donald Trump, even about what happened with Bernie, doesn't it bother you that you're more readily able to track your groceries, your Amazon package, your Uber Eats, your Postmates far more easily than we can track a ballot in an important election?
Yeah. You know what really sucks too, fam, too, as well, is that, and I'm not trying to discredit anybody, but I really haven't had a good, intelligent pushback debate with anybody about this election, because every single time I start talking to people about the elections, it's obvious that they don't know a lot about how the system and how it works. They don't, like Jonny keeps saying, and I'm going to say, go see for yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Go follow your own county's elections.
Read a fucking article, damn it.
I mean, but it's not a sexy topic and stuff like that. And the fact that a lot of leftist YouTubers have fallen for this, to think that they can't flip these things easily, they can't move an election, the establishment.
Well, they're also scared because they see what we're getting, and they see that we're getting attacked. I mean, this is a topic you really have to have some fucking balls to go after and grab the bull by the horns, because you're not going to be like popular. You're not going to be liked. You're going to be hated, and you're going to be called a conspiracy theorist for talking about elections. Every single time anybody, for the longest time, questions elections, they were called conspiracy theories. Now it's normalizing a little bit, and we were doing a great job of advancing the issue with Bernie Sanders. Even though he didn't go after it, progressives were sort of starting to see. The moment Donald Trump they did it with Donald Trump and they fought back. Now it's a right-wing issue. Yeah. And that's why we're not going to shut up about it, because it's not. It's a nonpartisan issue.
Exactly. And this number 2 is another one. Hindering receipt of the data by another governmental agency. So he's giving the secretaries of states or these election official powers to resist giving information to other governmental agencies requesting things. Like, so say you have somebody who is I don't want to use this word, a patriot or a loyal, a person who really wants to, affect make sure that the election of our integrity, the integrity of our elections are solid, and he's requesting information. Maybe it's a Republican who's in office and a Democrat is requesting it, and they say, I'm going to use it the opposite than what's happening now, and they're requesting information. They can say no. They can play politics this way with governmental agencies and not even allow them to get in. Number 3, real quick, now narrowing the scholarly. Did I say it right?
Narrowing of scholarly purpose for
scholarly
requesting
purpose
data.
Of requesting data, investigation purposes. The EIPCA has been requesting data under the category of scholarly purpose. Now, this is important, fam, because this is about not just investigation, but also doing studies on how patterns of votings go, whatnot, and stuff like that. So professors who want to go and analyze elections in the past, like Shiva did with all these other elections, and I have people like, who are going underneath they're going under aliases because they don't want people to know their names. They work in certain businesses and I don't want to lose my job. But I just analyzed, 2020 Michigan primary the same way that Shiva did in this last election. And I got some very, very bad pattern analysis. In other words, something's going on. And this is what I want to say, fam, because a lot of people say, you have no evidence. But then they'll say, well, Bernie Sanders was cheated. You have no evidence of that either. You don't have no smoking gun. What we do have is, I don't have evidence that it's completely illegal or flipped or rigged. You don't have evidence that it's true because, once again, we cannot look into it. But all these mathematical anomalies or irregularities and these pattern analysis that say something's going on, and the way all these votes came in late at night, what it does merit is an independent audit so that we, the people, can see that it is legit and transparent. And that's the thing they don't. They keep denying the third-party audits. They keep denying us data. They keep us shut out. And it was just like one election integrity activist told me, these things are self-verifying. The game is get everything into those machines, get them counted, and seal all the data, and ride it out until it runs out into the sunset, until it's too late, and now you can't challenge anything. They always kick things back. They always extend it to its a point. Well, it's too late. The election's been called. That person's already serving. Let's move on to the next one. That is the game. That is the game, and that's the problem. And number 4 is stringent IT security requirements. I was speaking to her about it, the person who passed on this information. I don't want to get too deep into that because I was having a hard time in understanding it, but it has to do with live data as it's happening and taking snapshots and getting that information. But yes, anyways, that is the article that was written. And they do this because this is another watchdog. This is just another watchdog, because that is the issue we have sometimes. When we talk to a lot of people, maybe, let's say, on the right, who talk about elections, and they talk about illegal immigration, and illegal immigrants. And I say, listen, guys, we're from California. I worked in the restaurants in California business. I know, I'm saying, illegal immigrants all the time. They don't vote. They don't do it. They're not going to, incriminate themselves, and they don't do it.
They're scared to death of being sent back.
Exactly. But when I talk to these election integrity activists, and they say, okay, but this is the whole mindset of just having fair elections. And that person told me, they said, whether it be in your state, if a felon can vote or cannot vote, whatever the law is, we just want to make sure that everybody who is allowed to vote votes, and who's not allowed to vote don't vote, especially people who have died when they get a hold of their ballots, or people who have moved on and people get a hold of their ballots. They just want a fair election. And I say, okay, that's a fair argument. They don't even like the fact that sometimes Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Elwood were talking about these things that were a big distraction. And every single time I approached them, I said, well, can you do me a favor? Let's tell all our peeps out there to use election fraud, not voter fraud. They agree with me. They're like, absolutely. Election fraud concentrates on a body doing the cheating, and voter fraud concentrates on the individual. And I corrected those people who were there for the Stop the Steal at the Assange thing. Did I not? I said, can you do me a favor? Could you use the term? So we keep educating and we talk about these things. Let's get to some of the letters I want to show you real quick, fam, because... and
just really quick on that, I just got to say, we want to make it possible for the most people to vote, but we want to make it transparent and secure, so you don't have these people who are bad actors who are rigging the election. I'm not saying immigrants are rigging the election, because that's not the case. I don't even think there's that many dead people that are being used. I think that is more. It's done in a election fraud manner. It's not done in the way some people on the right are saying, ooh, like Sally took her grandfather's ballot and voted for Biden twice. That's not how it happens. But it is a problem that our voter rolls aren't updated because sometimes you get a ballot here and you get a ballot in Florida. And that's happened multiple times to me, or it's happened to, Pasta and Jonny as well. And so technically could do that. Like, you could do that. And it's not that you would do it. It's that a bigger entity, a bigger machine would be able to do that for you. And that's why, because we wouldn't even have to worry about any of that, and we would be able to vote online or vote by mail with no problem if we had a chain of custody, if we had transparency in our elections, if we were able to look into the machines, have open source, have hand counted paper ballots, to done 100% audits, all of these things. We wouldn't even have to do any of that stuff. But it is because we don't that I don't trust things like ballot harvesting. And when Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard brought up ballot harvesting along with some Republicans, she was smeared as, oh, there she is being a right winger again. But that was way before the election, and they knew it was going to be a mechanism to which this was going to be used, and that has been used here against progressives by the Democratic Party and the Democratic establishment. Ballot harvesting means that I can carry a bunch of ballots, they can all give it to me, and I turn it in. But then you lose the chain of custody. There's no security in that. That's the problem.
Yeah, I sent a tweet to Michael Figueredo. He hasn't responded back, who was kind of standing behind ballot harvesting. And I was like, wait a second, you believe ballot harvesting is good? Could you explain to me why? And this is something that you have to look at and stuff. It might seem logical, that you're helping out. I'm collecting ballots and taking them in for people who can't take them in, or whatever the case may be, or making sure they're turned in. But you have to judge, or you have to secure these elections by the negative things that could happen. If one individual can collect a bunch of ballots and hand them in, you can have a lot of messed up things happen in an election, and that's why ballot harvesting is bad.
Ballots have been found, tubs of ballots have been found uncounted.
And what if I'm a person, I'm going to take your ballot and I don't like what you voted for, I can throw it aside. It's just, nobody should get between a person and the ballot box. Based on our analysis so far, and Jonny, I highlighted this green, these are some of the reasons why the EIPCA, and we do have the memo, it's in the actual folder, Jonny. But we do have the memo of what Alex Padilla said, but I want to just talk about some of this stuff right here. It says, withholding voter data deemed requested for unlawful, fraudulent use, illegitimate purposes, asserts vast discretion to refuse to provide voter registration information based upon a Secretary of State's reasonable belief. It's just what we talked about. It gives the Secretary of State so much power to say, hey, I don't want to give you this information. It's no good. I'm not going to give it to you. We went over that pretty much inside the stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
all right, we went over that. They sent that letter in, so let's get into the letters from the actual people then. So I'm covering so much. So that's the Jonny has up there the actual memo. We're not going to go over to that, but you can see the memo. We'll attach it online. It's down below, page 3, 1904C. The same things that we talked about. That's the actual memo itself. So the EIPCA, at the hearing, wrote letters and handed it in, objecting to these rule changes. And then a bunch of citizens wrote letters and handed them. I just copied 4 of them real quick so you can see what the citizens are saying. There's Jonny right there. The source agency may refuse to provide voter registration information based upon reasonable belief, there it is again, that is being requested for unlawful, false, or fraudulent purposes to promote or conduct illegitimate object or purpose, or is being requested or submitted in bad faith or for the purpose of harassing or defrauding a person or entity. In such instances, the source's agency's refusal to provide the voter information to the applicant shall be provided to the applicant in writing. In other words, all you have to do is write a letter. No, I don't want to give it to you. It's in bad faith. Wherein the source agency shall set forth the factors which served as the basis for the denial, so the applicant may file a new application. But you know what happens when you file a new application, Jonny. They kick it back, they kick it back, they kick it back, they kick it back. You're trying to get the information. The election already happened. It's too late. Oh, what are we going to go for this case for? It's a moot point. Let's move on. Let's look at some of the letters. Hey, hello, I kept the people's name out, even though it's public record. I didn't talk to them, so I just kept their names out. But I just copied 4 of the 20 letters I wrote. I read. I am sending this email to strenuously object to the proposed state regulation 19004-C. Accurate voter registration is a fundamental key to our democracy, and this proposed regulation would unfairly and subjectively limit access to what should be publicly available information. Please reject this intrusion of our freedoms. Fam, first one, is it not subjective as hell? I mean, no.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it's absolute. It's bullshit. It's absolutely subjective.
So here I am running again. I am against the adoption, the next one, of this proposed regulation 19004C. It is too subjective and allows the Secretary of State to limit access to voter information. Please inform Secretary of State Padilla of my objection. I have walked precincts for various candidates. We have always been able to obtain voter information. This regulation would limit our ability. The proposed regulation gives too much power to the secretary. We've been talking about this. You can't put this much power in these people's hands. And it prevents citizens from investigating voter registration improprieties. Improprieties. Sorry, thank you so much, fam. It will also add the belief that the government is hiding information and that the government cannot be trusted. Does it not do that, fam? It says to us, it's a big sign that says, well, what is the government hiding from us? It adds more distrust to the government that we already don't really believe are giving us fair elections. The next letter. Please inform the Secretary of State Padilla that I am against the adoption of the proposed regulation. Its language allows for too much discretion on the part of the Secretary of State to limit access to voter information. It's too subjective. The proposed regulation gives too much power to the Secretary and prevents citizens from investigating voter registration improprieties. Again,
same thing.
Yeah. A lot of times they shared a lot of this stuff. They moved it around.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? The last one, please object to my strong objection to the proposed regulation.
Please note my strong.
Yes, please note. This would concentrate power in the hands of the Secretary of State and allow for arbitrary and subjective rulings which could unfairly limit access to voter registration information. Most of the elections are like this. The last sentence, he says, more than ever, transparency is absolutely essential to the integrity and trust of our system of democracy. Fam.
And he also said already people are distrusting of the state government, and they worry that it is becoming less transparent, more biased, and less fair. So, I mean, that's exactly why people don't vote. This is exactly why people give up and stay out of politics. This is exactly why people went to protest and don't trust our election system. Like, why would you trust our election system when they do shit like this? Like, why would you care what happens next or who becomes president of the United States if this is what happens? Like, why would you give a shit? Like, honestly, like, this is it's ridiculous. They gaslight the hell out of you, turn it around and make you the attacker. They make themselves a victim, even though they're the ones who have every desire and every motive to be the ones to commit fraud. Why would you commit fraud? Like, it's not like your one vote is going to do anything. You would have to arm an army of people to commit fraud, and we don't have that kind of power because we can't even look into these machines. So the idea that they're twisting this to say that you would do something negligent or fraudulent or criminal with it is a cop-out that shouldn't ever hold up on any sort of court that is actually just. But again, our whole fucking system is entirely unjust. It's entirely an oligarchy, which is why there is no resort except to protest it. I mean, and now you can't even do that because now you're a domestic terrorist. Do you not see what's going on here? This is people, all these idiots are over there screaming that we're siding with white supremacists. No, you are siding with fascists in the oligarchy by completely being a little fucking sheep and smiling as you're being sent to the slaughterhouse, because that's what's happening right now. You're not even realizing how fascism's already here. It's so cryptic, and you don't notice it because it's not as obvious as a fucking loony with his horns and his little fucking furry outfit. Because that's what they want you to notice. Oh, look over here.
Yeah.
Well, but meanwhile, we're going to pass this legislation and we're just going to completely take away your American rights, your First Amendment rights, your right to look into your own elections, your own data. We're going to do this because you're too busy fucking being distracted by a man who's leaving office in 5 days. Like, that's the whole fucking performance.
What she said. I ain't got to say anything else. Very good, fam. Thank you so much because you said it all. And this is happening right now as all this shit's going on. And it's a hard thing to talk about. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to deny any type of, racisms and, other,
right.
You know what I'm saying? But I just always think that it's overplayed to keep people off the eyes of the people who are really pulling the strings.
Well, nobody's denying the racism, Pasta. We've been fucking on the streets, fighting the brutality of the police, trying to catch them on camera, seeing how they've gone after journalists. Johnny and I were arrested for doing journalism. So that's the same thing. If you're going to be for Julian Assange and you're going to be against the national security state, then you also need to know that the police aren't your fucking friends. They never were. They're going to do what the state tells them to do. Okay, that's their whole thing. Now, I'm not saying that every single officer is an evil person, but what I am saying, it is their job to do what the state tells them to do.
Exactly.
They are the pawns of the smaller subsidiary of the bigger national security state, and that's what they are. So when we were fighting them and we were trying to catch their abuse, because there was so much abuse by the police on people. Okay, overwhelmingly, of course, we know data. People of color are more in jail. They occupy more prisons. All of that is true. Nobody's denying that. Now, when you take that and you amplify it into a macro sense of the national security state, then they know that in order to get people to get distracted and not really realize what the hell's going on, they have to create a conflict. They have to manufacture consent, just like they manufactured consent for the war in Iraq. And so they're doing it again. They're manufacturing consent for you to stay silent and you to be okay because Orange Man bad gone. And all these white supremacists, we have to make sure we erase everything that Trump ever did. Even though you're not erasing it, you're fomenting it. You're enlarging it, because 75 million people aren't just going to go away. They're not just going to go away.
No, they got to be reprogrammed, Fran. They got to be retrained. And that's the language that's coming out there. It's pretty disgusting. Emmett Campbell, thank you so much for the super chat, for the Super Ray contribution. We appreciate that, Emmett. And Kerry Mark as well says, I tell people all the time that it's election fraud, not voter fraud. Otherwise, rigged. Thank you so much, Kerry Mark. We do appreciate that. Denny McCartney, I think we already said thank you, and Kerry Mark for the earlier Super Ray contributions. 23 people watching on the Rokfin. Let's get that number up. Yesterday we got over 50. We got 335 watching on the YouTubes. Yesterday we had 900 people at one time. It was amazing. That's great. We can't thank you enough for all the love that you send us. Our Patreons, so many of them out there, the people who have subscribed. We have 84 subscribers, active subscribers on Rokfin. We want to get that number up, so jump on in. If you can afford to subscribe, please do so. It's $9.99 a month. You get everybody's premium content across the board over there as well. Joyce C says, and this is a super chat contribution. Thank you for the super chat contributions. Always appreciate it on the couch. The Department of Homeland Security is in charge of election audits and security of elections. Keep whistleblowing on the fraud of our elections crisis. Keep up the good work. We will, as much as we can. Like I said, we're walking a tightrope right now because, I mean, Jesus, they're just taking people down left and right for talking about this stuff. Yeah. But we're just reporting on the stuff we see. The Natural Progressive, Roar Media, thank you so much for the super chat contribution.
Thank you, Seattle fams.
We love you guys. You guys are amazing. Fam, let's talk about the next topic. I think that was great. That was a great topic. You put a tweet out there. What's this all about,
this
fam?
falls right in line with everything I've just been saying. And this is why I'm so fucking worked up, because AOC's shift has been so far more quickly than most could have predicted. I mean, like I said, I remember even a year ago when me, myself, and Niko, and a few others, Pasta included, were talking about how she's not who we thought she was and blah, blah, blah. People would just come on the attack. Now people who worshipped her are even like, okay, wait a minute. Like, this is like some serious shit right here, because we're getting into the thought police. And we have the left, the dumbass progressives, like Steve says, off their training wheels, have become full radical liberals and have completely just swallowed this narrative that people like AOC, the Squad, and everybody pretty much in Congress and government is peddling, and that is that we need to fight this domestic terrorism. And she said, basically, she did a whole video talking about how we need to now censor the media, because there's no way you can just let the media spread disinformation and misinformation. And she specifically talks about that in this video. So let's just play the video and then we'll talk about it.
There's absolutely a commission that's being discussed, but it seems to be more investigatory in style rather than truth and reconciliation. And so I think that's an interesting concept for us to explore. And I do think that several members of Congress in some of my discussions have brought up media literacy, because that is a part of what happened here. And we're going to have to figure out how we rein in our media environment so that you can't just spew disinformation and misinformation. It's one thing to have differing opinions, but it's another thing entirely to just say things that are false. Absolutely.
Okay.
Fam, that is very dangerous language.
It's extremely
dangerous.
dangerous.
Extremely dangerous language about, what was she calling that, the education or something, or
did she say ministry? I don't think she said that, but what? I'm thinking like freaking 1984. She basically said that we have to rein in our media, okay, and we have to discuss, who does she mean by media? She's not talking about MSNBC and CNN, who she constantly is on all the time. She's not talking about them. I didn't see her say crap about RussiaGate when it was being peddled for the last fucking 4 years. She said absolutely nothing about it. So we have to be careful with people spreading misinformation and disinformation. Oh, really? Oh, so Rachel Maddow got millions of dollars per episode while peddling RussiaGate, and that's okay? While literally spewing actual conspiracy theories?
Yes.
And that was okay? Oh, I didn't see anybody said, wait a minute, we have to rein in our mainstream media propaganda machine that constantly pushes out state propaganda narratives, blowing up the defense industry, blowing up big pharma, and making you believe that we need more defense. Manufacturing consent for war, manufacturing consent that you need a fucking big pharma to tell you what you need, to tell you how to take care of yourself, to tell you to continue relying on this disastrous capitalistic bomb of a healthcare system. That's what she wants you to, she didn't have a problem with that. Neither did any of the squad. Neither did Bernie Sanders. Now all of a sudden, oh no, somebody on Parler puts out something stupid, which, by the way, you can take down shit that is actually threatening. We're not saying you don't take down shit that is actually threatening to somebody.
By the law. Yeah.
You abide by the law. That is not the same thing as silencing dissent, which is what this is. Because once you start saying, oh, misinformation and disinformation, I'm sorry, AOC, I'm not going to trust you or the intelligence agencies or the military-industrial complex to tell me what's misinformation or disinformation when they literally continuously have lied to us since the beginning of time. So sorry if I refuse to trust the agencies that are spreading conspiracy theories like fucking RussiaGate.
Yeah, and let's not forget that the teeth of RussiaGate is all about Donald Trump colluding with the Russians to overturn the 2016 elections.
Right.
That's what the whole teeth about it was. And they did that for 4 fucking years, and every single step of the way, when we questioned their narrative, we said, let's see your proof. We gave you Mueller, an investigation. You got all this money to go into this stuff.
But the 17 agencies.
And the whole thing was that, where's your evidence of the election rigging in 2020? Like, well, we have all this data and this analysis right now that we have merited a chance to look into this stuff the way you looked into RussiaGate for 4 freaking years and just came up with dead end bullshit, CrowdStrike not saying shit, you're lying, you're sitting on stuff, you're peddling this stuff with the mainstream media. And they did this before the election even started with Joy Reid. I remember the first time she talked about this stuff. And what did they say about the actual emails that were real? Oh, that's stolen information. Now, that information shouldn't be public. Yeah, but the information is real. And you got caught with your hands in the cookie jar. But now we get all this stuff that is legitimate, and I know a bunch of bullshit thrown in there from Sidney Powell and Linwood, but legitimate for us to look into it, and we can't even look into it.
At the very least, the machines, the machine, the connections to the machines, the connections to the machine software, the USB ports, the internet, the fact that we can't look into these machines, ignore everything else if you want.
Yes.
But that in itself alone, and the fact that there was no chain of custody with the mail-in ballots, that itself is something that's nonpartisan. That is not.
Yeah.
And we can't even now. So do you not see that this is like step 1, step 2, step 3? Step 1, discredit the witnesses, discredit anybody talking about the security state. When AOC was asked about Julian Assange, when she was asked about fucking Julian Assange, she refused to. She said something about Edward Snowden, but she refused to say anything about Julian Assange, and she said she still had to look into it. This has been going on for 10
if anybody
fucking
says
years.
That, it's bullshit.
She gave an Anna Kasparian answer. Like, if I'm going to go after Anna Kasparian for saying, we'll look into it, even though you very well know what the fuck's going on, you're giving me the same fucking answer. You turn around, literally, don't support the Tulsi Gabbard's legislation on pardoning whistleblowers, on Snowden, on Julian Assange, etc. You don't support that legislation, and then you turn around and do this. You demand more censorship. You demand reining in free speech. You know whose free speech is going to be reined in? It's not CNN or MSNBC. It is our free speech. It is our ability to go as journalists. And I just quickly want to go over some of the things I said on the thread, because some people need to understand why I am so hyped and so angry about this, because who free speech? They mock it like, who cares about free speech?
I'm a civil liberties guy.
Yeah, I care about your free speech. Even if you're an idiot out there spewing out nonsense, you have the right to have your own platform.
Exactly.
TYT has the right to have their fucking platform. CNN, MSNBC, all these idiots that spew lies, Humanist Report, Jordan Sheridan, all the people that I don't even like, okay, have a right to a platform. I will never do what that has been done to us and ask them to deplatform you ever, because that's fucking bullshit. That's fascism. So I said, why is this dangerous, right? Because no government official or giant corporations or a government controlled by corporations, which is our government, should get to decide what's true or what isn't true, and people should get to decide. When she references media, she's referencing us, not state-sanctioned media, independent media, because the media was supposed to be the fourth estate. It was supposed to be the one that holds the fourth branch of government that holds the rest accountable.
Yes.
Okay, that was supposed to be the system of checks and balances.
It's the fourth estate.
Exactly, fam, and often challenging the state narrative or catching it in a lie, like we saw with the WikiLeaks, that we saw with the Pentagon Papers. So what happens is, a result, when we had already a system encroaching fascism, it's what happened with Julian Assange. Because if the current government actually cared about truth and reining in misinformation, they wouldn't be jailing and wanting to extradite Julian Assange. They wouldn't be prosecuting him under the Espionage Act. We wouldn't have had the Patriot Act, going in and spying on Americans under the guise of foreign terrorism. Yeah. And now we're doing it again. This is nothing but an effort to control fucking dissent. And when they manufactured lies, like we just said, like RussiaGate, it became the truth, though we knew that it was actual conspiracy theory. And they made journalists challenging that narrative, the conspiracy theorists. Remember, they were like, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're Putin, you're carrying water for Trump and Putin. Remember that? They used neo-McCarthyism of the 1950s, which called everybody a communist, against
you're a Putin puppet, fam,
in the modern 2017, 2016, this age. And so this is, just to end my point, fam, this is yet another crackdown on censorship and restriction of free speech that we're going to be seeing more and more now, not just as a result of the Capitol, but as a result of the Joe Biden administration and the massive amounts of millions of dollars that the surveillance state and these big tech corporations have put into Joe Biden in order to get their needs met. This is the marriage of the security state and the surveillance state, and she is being the intersectional fascism that is influencing everybody and trying to build up the next wave of young neoliberals, because Obama had that ability, and she's the one that's been shown to have that ability as well. She's a woman of color. All of these things are being used, and everybody's falling for it.
Yes. And watching that show today, Low News Day with Whitney and stuff like that, is like people just say they don't care because it doesn't affect their lives.
Yeah.
They got their Netflix, they got their Postmates, they go home, whatever, and stuff like that. Right. And even of us being stripped down of resources and stuff like that, we still have a lot of distractions and situations that we live in where our lives aren't under the threat of being bombed or killed or whatnot every day. So we have a bunch of people just following Yas Queen because she virtue signals to them, and she she preys on their emotions. That's what all these neo-progressives are duped by. The emotional thing. It's the emotional thing. She says all the things that lack nuance, that are just on surface level bullshit, and they get you to follow along. It's scary times that you guys are being duped like a bunch of chumps into this kind of mentality. And once again, you're being told that the Trump person is the enemy. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that there aren't Trump people out there that could go over the top. There are people on the left that can go over the top, but that's just not the majority of people. We're getting pitted at each other's throats, and they are just
white supremacy is a problem, but it is not at the grand scale they're saying it is.
Yes.
They're acting like there's 75 million people who are all white supremacists. That is illogical. That is that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. What they're trying to do is amplify that to get you to ignore the other issue, which is this cryptic fascism that's going to kill you slowly, because you're not going to realize it. And by the time you do, you'll already be saying war is peace.
Yeah.
And you're already having the thought police after you. And that is a very scary thing. I talk about this all the time, but things didn't come out of nothing. People don't write this out of nothing. People write this because this is like where we're headed. This is that authoritarianism that a lot of Republicans on the right feared from some of the left. And it's not just on the left, it's on the right too. They're coming together, both parties. Joe Biden said it himself. I want a strong Republican Party. Of course he does, because it's the controlled opposition. You need to know by now that none of these people are your friends.
Yes. Tony watches closely with the Super Ray contribution. Thank you so much on that. Rokfin, 26 people. Get on over there. ROKFIN. Joining in the gains. The Ray has been going up. Last year at this time, it was 14 cents. It is now over $4 in change. That is awesome.
Amazing.
We have a friend of ours, not mentioning any names, Ungi, put a few bucks in. Now it's worth a lot. Ain't that great, Ungi? And Bitcoin shutting through the roof too as well. Get in and join on the fun. It is an awesome platform. Help us grow it there. Tony watches closely. He says AOC thinks she'll be given a pass, but she forgets she's PR, which is also a priority on the chopping block.
Right.
Fam, anything about that?
Yeah, well, just remember, that journalism is printing what everybody else doesn't want you to see, and everything else is public relations. Okay, so, and I studied journalism and public relations both, so I know what the difference is. The reason I didn't go into public relations was because I couldn't fucking stand it. The lies, the deceit, the people, it was just a bunch of people trying to make you think a certain way. It was basically advertising and propaganda. It doesn't matter what you say. What matters is the perception of it, how you position yourself. This is why I can see through people so easily, because this is what these people are trained to do. She is literal PR right now for the security state. This is why. If you don't, and I remember this, if you don't question and go after the security state, and if you don't go after and talk about election integrity, you're not getting anywhere near my support. Yeah. And that's it. Like, this is like, I mean, those, if you're not going to do, because that's where it hurts them. That's what's actually challenging the status quo. You're not going to challenge the status quo by simply saying on a slogan, you're for Medicare for all, then turn around and use the same exact fucking reasoning to say impeachment is fine, even though if it's symbolic, that you denied for doing a floor vote for Medicare for all. Now we had 2 impeachment votes. We're about to get Trump impeached for the second time, but we can't get Medicare for all. Oh, well, you don't know how it works on the inside. No, it's bullshit. No. This is like no longer a radical notion here. Everybody has a single payer system where they take care of people. Okay, like it's no longer acceptable to give a fucking answer like that. Oh, committees and all this bullshit. No, people don't give a shit about that. When you need healthcare, when your family is dying, when you can't even go to the hospital and get treated because the United States has such a dumbass system where they let people get sick and they give you ibuprofen instead of giving you ivermectin. Like, we live in a third world country. I'm so sorry. This isn't the greatest country in the world. Stop saying that, right winger. Stop saying this is the greatest country in the world. And I'm proud. Come to your terms. No, I'm not proud right now. And it's not just because of the racial injustice that the left always focuses on, because I think that is an important concern. But it's also because of everything else too that comes along with that. The poverty, the maligning of people, the dismissal of the working class, the elitism in our politics, the elitism in the progressive movement, all of these things, everything that people have been suffering in this country needs to be addressed. Everybody's fucking concerned, but none of it is getting addressed, and they're making you fight each other for your issue over the other person's issue. That's basically what's going on. And if you talk to people who aren't political, they all realize this. They just don't know what to do about it. They all realize it, though. But if you talk to somebody who's in the Democratic Party or who's a progressive that's involved in their government, most of them live in an echo chamber where they only listen to people they agree with. Yeah.
Fam, you're amped up today. Who put a nickel in you? Maybe it was that breakfast burrito. Wow. Woo! North American Ape says, where was AOC when the mainstream media was pushing RussiaGate, Bountygate, the coup in Bolivia? Question mark, huh? What about the articles that used new knowledge as a source? New knowledge as a source. I don't know. AOC has been awful in these things, and I've been always saying I'm a civil liberties guy, fam. I think that's kind of known right now and stuff like that. But they are being infringed upon. They are being taken away. It is scary what we witnessed. The reason why I thought there was something fishy going on about the Capitol, is the way that censorship came in just so powerfully, so quick, so fast. As we're speaking right now, Parler has been taken down. And I know people might say, well, they deserve to be taken down. They're a bunch of racists and fascists, and they use that to organize. No, that's some scary shit when you're going to just silence a whole group of people. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Take down the posts that are doing that. Wow. Nobody's saying don't take down the posts that are doing that. But to silence a whole platform to try to own the right by using fascism is ironic. And that's what's happening.
No. People say, do you think AOC was trolling Jimmy with a comment? Not whatsoever. She was saying that shit because people won't catch on to what's really going on. They'll just take sound bites. They'll play it over here and there again. The mainstream media didn't talk about, Jimmy Dore and all these people forcing these people to go on record while she was saying, just look at who's the co-sponsor. They didn't blast that out there, but they will blast the fact that she said, well, we got to put people on record with a vote right now on the mainstream media. All right. So the zombies out there will get a different information that we in the bubble get. Right. Mm-hmm. Okay. So no, AOC was not trolling Jimmy. AOC was being legitimately, because once again, it's an issue that benefits her base, her followers, where she can say that, well, I'm going to put these people on record to see who is for fascism and who's against white supremacy. Right.
It seems like she is trolling in a way because it's so stupid that she self-owned that way. That's why it seems like she's trolling. Like, you're like, wait a minute, is she that daft, or is she like just saying this because she believes in it? And like, I think she's one of those people that's just not going to buck the system, right? Yeah. She's not. She's just gonna play it safe and make sure she stays in there. And I'm not saying, because this came up yesterday on the show that I was on, like that you necessarily primary AOC, because I'm not saying you don't or you do, because the system is the problem. We don't have election integrity. Yeah. Again, I have to go back to, because a lot of progressives, when they discuss politics and they do political analysis of Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and the people who voted for them or not, they don't discuss election integrity at all. I had to bring it up yesterday when I did the show. Nobody was discussing election integrity. They were talking about whether Joe Biden was more popular or Bernie was more popular. I'm like, wait a minute, like, no, you're acting the pretense that we have a democracy and we don't. So when you automatically dismiss that, you're dismissing like the core of what's wrong with our system. It's like, we don't have election integrity. We don't have public trust in our system. We don't have any mechanisms of getting it. And if you speak out against it, you are now being censored. Yeah. You are now being completely crushed.
Yeah. Cori Bush's amendment that she's trying to bring to the floor to say that you can no longer, the people who question the election results now have to be sanctioned or even removed from their position. It's very, very scary. And I can tell you this much from when I watched the hearings too as well. We were listening to it in the car when we went to go get some vegan pizza. I watched it when I came back to the place and stuff like that. Not one Democrat is talking about the systemic serious issues within our elections. They are talking about voter suppression once again, because they could say people of color, minorities are being cheated, and that's something we have to look into. But they don't mention the proprietary software. They don't mention the ballot harvesting. In fact, they're standing behind it. You know what I'm saying? So they're not even looking at things on a fundamental issue that need to be addressed when it comes to our elections across the board. And we've been screaming this shit for how long? Since it happened to Bernie Sanders in 2016. We've been talking about the proprietary software and our public-funded elections, and it's not being even addressed by anybody on the Democratic side, and they have full control now, fam. So, I mean, it's just really, really scary where we're at.
And by addressing the integrity of our elections, that includes voter suppression. Yeah. So if you're somebody that says that, oh, the Republicans are cheating, yes, they are. They do cheat too. Nobody's saying they're not. Yeah. Like, nobody's saying that they're not voter suppression. Yeah. Like that's more of their mechanisms of doing it through voter suppression and hanging chads and all of this. It's not like we forgot about Bush versus Gore. The elections have been questioned time and time again. It's just a matter of whether that's allowed or not, or how well it's believed. We're come to a point where now it was okay for them to question the elections because Hillary lost with RussiaGate, but it's not okay for Trump or anybody to question these elections because now Joe Biden won. That's not how it works. There's no consistency in these people. They're hypocrites and they're fucking liars and frauds, and they all need to be taken to the Hague. So you want to impeach Trump? I want to see all these warmongers like Dick Cheney and all of these fascists impeached.
Liz now. Liz is coming down. She's Bush, running down the pipeline right now. She's here go conservatives. Here comes Liz Cheney coming back in there. Yep. daughter of Falsa Doom over here is going to try.
Bush was still the worst president of my lifetime.
Wow.
Bush was still the worst president of my lifetime.
So awful.
You can't tell me that Donald Trump is the worst president in modern history.
Compared to Bush.
What fucking Bush did is the reason we have Donald Trump today. You literally, the reason he was elected is because of that. Because you brought in Barack Obama and his neoliberalism to say, oh, we're not going to do that. No, you're going to do the same fucking shit, except you're going to be more cryptic about it. Yes. And then that hypocrisy brought up this movement where people it actually incited more racism, because you couldn't even attack Obama on legitimate things because they would say you were being racist.
Yep.
So then all of these things have been happening, and now we're at this boiling point, and people need to realize not just what's happening right now on the surface. You need to understand what happened a long time ago to get to understanding what's happening now and to predict what's going to happen later.
Yep. North American Ape says, by the way, Bethlehem Tessafe over on the Rokfin, ROKFIN, and Ungi's joined in. Ungi, the Ray's over $4. Bitcoin's almost near 40,000. Doing good, my brother. Love you, Ungi. Ungi's our man. He's fam for reals. North American Ape over on the YouTubes. Thank you for the super chat contribution. Always appreciated on the couch. Say, do folks not see the insanity of removing a whole app from the Play Store? Clearly, they don't remember what happened with the is it the Adpocalypse on YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the Adpocalypse? What was the Adpocalypse?
Are you? I don't know what he's referring to.
I don't know either. North American Ape. I remember the whole. It started with Alex Jones, I thought, when we started getting a little bit. Wait a second, we can't do this. And to answer the first part of your question, yeah, I mean it's insane. Mm-hmm. That they removed Parler and that people like Ro Khanna were calling for this shit, whatnot. I mean, this is mass censorship on the left. Well, Steve Poikonen said that seat doesn't belong to Ro Khanna. It belongs to Silicon Valley. And it's true right now. And $16 million to Joe Biden. Once again, I was never saying that Donald Trump was my dream candidate. But when people said, do you want Donald Trump or Joe Biden scares the shit out of me. And look at everybody he's putting in right now. All these warmongers, he's putting back into play. It's like all the people that were there before him that just, perpetuated
not that
constant
Pompeo wasn't a warmonger, though.
He is, and I'm not saying he's
one
not.
Of the worst.
He is really, really bad. I never really liked Pompeo, too, as well.
And it's all Trump's fault, because now all of that is turning on him. All those people turned on him. They were never going to stick by you, Trump.
Never.
You were supposed to drain the swamp. You told them you would, and you didn't.
You can't drain the swamp by hiring the swamp. It just doesn't work that way. Malik Clary, thank you for the super chat contribution. Always appreciated on the couch. Do you guys think it's time to give up on America? What are your thoughts on leaving America for your sanity? Even if you can't escape imperialism, capitalism, is America even salvageable?
I honestly think every empire has to fall, right? And I think this empire will fall. And you know what? I mean, we've done a lot of damage, and a lot of people hate us because we've done a lot of damage. I don't know if America can be saved at this point, because people still rely on politicians to do things for them. People still want to put these politicians on a pedestal and treat them like celebrities when they're fucking public servants. Yeah. And when I'm sorry. Oh, Bernie did something, so I'm going to go and be his disciple. That's not how it works. Think for yourself. I have never been somebody that is a hive mind mentality, so I guess it's easier for me to say that. I never liked a sorority or any of that stuff, but at the same time, it's like I believe in collectivism, which is completely different, because collectivism allows you to take into consideration the populist mentality of everybody and what people want and what's best for that. If Americans don't take back the power that belongs to them in whatever way, if it's not peaceful, it will be violent, and this country will go down. And I'm not saying I am for civil war. I am not. But I'm saying there's going to be some sort of revolt in America, because the politicians aren't doing anything to quell the people's insecurities, lack of confidence, distrust, desperation right now. They're not doing anything to do that on either end of the spectrum. That's not happening. And this is a very tumultuous time, because you could have somebody that's actually like a Tom Cotton come and take the working class with him and run a campaign. You could have something like that. You need a leftist counter to that too, or somebody that can unite the vast majority of the working class. And right now, it doesn't seem like that's happening at a massive level. And I a lot of people were talking about leaving America, and I'm one of them that's considering it. I'm sorry. Like, it's just like, it's really getting really bad when you're talking about this sort of fascistic and full-on authoritarian state that we're going down towards. It's scary. And the worst part is that I feel like we're speaking to the wind, because so many people are on Facebook now. We have a friend that never really used to post Trump stuff, like against Trump all the time. In the last month, he has been on Facebook posting like, mocking the insurrectionists, all of this and all that, Trump this, Trump that. All it took was the election with Joe Biden and this incident to get these progressives to become full-on members of the Democratic Party. And if it's that easy for the CIA and the intelligence and all these operatives to do that, I really don't know. More people would need to wake up for us to fight it, because there's only so much we can do with our platform, which is why we're trying to grow, and people are trying to stop us from growing, because we're telling you the truth in a way that's as nonpartisan as possible. Because as much as I may be a leftist, I'm not going to sit there and vilify somebody that isn't necessarily doing something wrong. Like, I don't like Trump, and Pasta knows that. I've never liked him. And but at the same time, I see that the greater evil are the conditions that put Trump in office, because those conditions will put someone much, much worse the next time around.
Fam, you're on fire today. I'm enjoying just listening to you. You're really going off. That's great. And I want to thank everybody who's on the Rokfin. Fee is on fire. That's all I got to say right now. But let me introduce a couple people. I said this name wrong last night, so I'm going to introduce him on Rokfin. Thank you for the Super Ray contribution from Giancarlo Valenzuela Segura.
Jesus Christ, is this like
That's how
WWE?
they do it. That's Bruce Buffer in MMA. And we have Molly Magnuson.
Molly, you
Thank
have
you,
the
Molly.
same name as my precious dog.
And then we have Misha Key. Did I say that word right? So, let me see. Is that right, fam? Is that Misha Key?
I guess Misha is it's a Russian name, I think.
Thank you so much. Keep up the important work. Love you guys with the blue heart. Guys, hit that like button over there. Ungi's hanging out. 35 people. We got some Super Ray there too as well. I love Ungi. You're the best, Ungi. You know how much we love you. Thank you so much for your love. Always taking care of it. Oh, Ungi leaves a super chat contribution. Ungi, you haven't done it on Ray yet? On you got to get over to the Super Ray, Ungi. Come on, man. That's our platform. The election. Please use your finger quotes. What you say, election of Joe Biden is likely to be the best example of be careful for what you wish for in this era.
Oh yeah, 100%, Ungi. All these people are like, oh, 2020 is behind us. Oh, Joe Biden's going to come in. At least we got rid of Trump. And yet they're still so hyper-focused on him, right? He's leaving office and they're still so hyper-focused on him. And they're going to see. They're gonna eat their freaking words. If not now, in a few years, they're going to eat their words. Because what's coming is really bad.
Yeah. Alexander Sosa Rodriguez. Is the Capitol a public building? If it is, are all the people allowed there? Liberals, progressives, conservatives? Why politicians have the authority to tell us when we should be allowed there?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, and listen, fam. Somebody feared for their life. Johnny, did AOC not fear for her life there? And people mocking it,
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw this tweet, and it said, apparently the correct position on AOC fearing for her life is scorn. And it had a lot of likes. And then I saw Stacy, who I've been following, who's good on Bitcoin and everything like that. She said, "This is America. Everyone fears their life for at least 15 times per day." So I don't know. What do you think about that, Fee?
AOC feared for her life in one moment. Fearing, you know who fears for their life? All the fucking people we bomb all the time and that you don't say anything about in the Middle East. All the sanctions that we impose on people, those people, they fear for their life. All the people right now who don't have fucking healthcare and who could have maybe had healthcare if you had put in all the fucking effort that you did to impeach Trump. On at least forcing a vote and making a display and an embarrassment out of your Mama Bear Pelosi and out of all these Democrats, they fear for their fucking life because they can't go to the fucking doctor. When you get COVID and you're an old person, you fear for your life because you don't know if you're going to die or not. Not even because necessarily even the disease, but because healthcare system is so bad that they have to choose who to treat and who not to treat. And if you fall in the category, well, you're a little bit less likely to survive, they're not going to fucking treat you. They don't give you anything if you go to the hospital. Pasta went to the urgent care because his chest was hurting, and they told him, no, you go home. Like, what if it was actually something?
They wouldn't give me a test if I didn't have
They won't give
insurance.
him anything. I mean, this is the system that we're in. People fear for their life every day. People who are being shot by the police, which, by the way, you didn't bring that up when it comes down to all the police brutality and the BLM stuff. You didn't really say anything when it came to that stuff either. Yeah. And all the people that fear for their life for living in a system where they don't know how much longer they're going to make it or have a roof over their head, or the millions of people that are homeless, they fucking fear for their life every day. Nobody needs this theatrics of you clutching your pearls and saying you're fearing for your life when we know damn well that this is a fucking psyop set up to literally crack down. And you're showing us right now in your videos where you're playing victim and you're doing all this crap.
Yeah. I think the 700,000 people who are homeless on the street fear for their lives every day a lot more, and justifiably so, than AOC. This is really disgusting and whatnot. I mean, really, seriously. And then you work out your feelings on Instagram for us, and you just goad people over. Oh, my God. You know, and when my heart was hurting, I told the doctor, I said, Bernie Sanders in the squad. That broke my heart. That broke my heart. BD, thank you for the Super Ray. That's Steve from Slow News Day says, only imposter's head is at a Super Ray. It's a weird police in there, but that guy has fun. If you haven't gone back and watched the show today with Glory and Whitney Webb, ladies and gentlemen, please do so. Watch it on Rokfin again. Don't go watch it on YouTube. Watch it on Rokfin.
If you want to watch actual journalism and truth, please go subscribe to Slow News Day with Glory Jones and Steve Poikinen.
Yeah.
I love his last name, Poikinen.
Yeah.
Because they are no cap awesome, and they are like literally just Glory Jones doesn't hold back, you know, douche-tastic face.
And let me tell you something, Steve don't hold back either. I think that Kyle Kalinski's trying to be the first male guest on The View. Male host on The View. BD says, and this is a Super Ray from BD, wow, leftists are leaving under Democratic administration? Never thought I'd hear that. I love you all. Call out these fascists.
Yeah.
She goes, I love that you all call out these fascists. Thank you so much. Guys, we need more likes than that. We have 38 people. We can leave today once we get 40. We're almost at the end of the show.
Pasta will keep talking forever.
I will. Fiorella got her mojo back. Don't feed the trolls. We need a sign that says "Don't feed the trolls" right behind us.
I had to address like one of them, but yeah, no, they keep going. They just keep attacking. And like I said, you guys have to really understand here. There is a reason for that. It's just not random. You know, there are coordinated efforts to discredit people who are really a danger to society and telling the truth. And like, I'm not saying like I'm some sort of big person. I'm not at all. These people think I have a lot of power. I mean, some people think that we led the Trumpers to have an insurrection at the Capitol by talking about election fraud. So if I'm that powerful, I want healthcare. I want marijuana for all, mushrooms for all,
no shit.
Wine for all. Let's see, priorities, pet care to be included in the healthcare, and
you want your pony.
Regime change wars.
Everybody gets a beagle.
Of course, everybody. Of
Beagles
course, freedom
for everybody.
of speech, Julian Assange, all of that. You know, too bad I'm not president. Oh well, I can't be president either.
Everybody's saying Fee is on fire on this thing over here. By the way,
sorry,
Fee's on fire today. It was the breakfast burrito. I give myself.
It was
credit.
not the breakfast burrito. I was the hot sauce and I didn't even have coffee today.
I know. It was
I didn't even have coffee
but you had
today.
turmeric in those tempeh, and you had smoked paprika in those vegetables. I'm going to say this name right over here. Ready, fam? Thank you for the super chat contribution from Ona Kaikala Ono. I said it right. Much aloha to you both joining your monthly subscription. I hope that means on Rokfin. Thank you, Ono. We love you. Much mahalo. Love to you guys. I got to call my boy Jai. I haven't spoke to Jai in about a month.
Aloha.
Jai, where you at?
Shout
Get
out
back
to Jai
on.
Gabbard.
We love Jai Gabbard. Jai, hit me up,
he
bro.
has great coffee.
I'm going to come see you soon. Send us the best coffee. We love Jai. He's my homeboy. I want to be a Kiwi. I love that nickname. Rokfin won't let me send a tip there. What do you guys think about Biden being the new, more competent Trump?
Oh, Biden, you know,
one.
What really irritates me, and I know we're just talking here, but what really irritates me the most right now of all these neo-progressives, boutique leftists. Oh, I did the right thing. I voted for Joe Biden.
I know. I hate when people say
because
that shit.
of my brothers and sisters of color.
Yes.
Joe Biden, Mr. I wrote the Patriot Act. I wrote the crime bill. Mr. I wanted a wall. He wanted a big fence, basically a wall to stretch 7 miles and blah, blah, blah at the border. Mr. I worked with segregationists. Like, are you serious? You're going to tell me that man isn't racist? You're going to tell me that man didn't become the architect of the system that is now currently coming back to bite us in the ass? So don't toot your own horn here. Fine, you voted for Joe Biden. I'm not going to say anything. That's fine. Vote for Joe Biden.
But don't kid yourself.
Don't act like you are of greater moral authority for voting for the shit stain that literally led us to this moment right now, because that's exactly what happened. Okay, he without people like Joe Biden putting in the laws and the mechanisms, we wouldn't be here today. He wrote the freaking goddamn Patriot Act. Hello, now they're using that as precedent to push this new wave of Patriot Act. Do you not see here the correlation? The racism, I guess, doesn't count when you bomb brown people abroad. Yeah. They don't count.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Dude, by the way, I'm wearing my cloak of virtueness. So leave me alone.
There's
Patrick
a lot of
S.
that going around, fam.
I know, right? All over the place. Please, you're making me throw up. Patrick S. Thank you for the Super Ray and Revolutionary Koala. And then I want a revolutionary koala.
I do too.
I want a little koala dressed up like a revolutionary suit, stuff like that.
The koalas.
We'll have a Convo Couch, the revolutionary koala. We should market those and sell those for Christmas. I want a revolutionary koala. Thank you so much for that, Super Ray, guys. There are 40 people watching over on the Rokfin.
Yay, we did it.
So therefore, we can end the show on a good note. Johnny, do you have anything else for us? Because we do have one more super chat. Every American fears for their life because we collectively have PTSD from shootings. Also, Italian pride. That's my boy, Gina G. My girl, Gina G. Where's the Italian stallion? I'm hella white, but last name basically Giardelli. I love you, Gina Giardelli. That's a wholesome name. Paisan, we love you.
Yesterday we forgot Comrade Misty super chat, so I have to send a heartfelt sorry, and I'm so sorry we missed it. It was probably Pasta's fault. Let's just say it was Pasta's fault that we missed.
No, it was Johnny's fault. I asked him to double check my work.
Yeah, and so Misty, sorry you missed your super chat. Misty's also on videos of these anti-fascists who really are calling her a Nazi collaborator. So welcome, fellow Nazi collaborator. Thank you for speaking truth to power. Thank you for being on the right side, for being a voice of reason. Everybody subscribe to her channel. Yep. And she is awesome. And we met her when we went to the Assange protest, and they were doing such great work there. They managed to do so much.
Amazing work what they did. Amazing. They should be so proud of themselves, that whole crew. They got a lot of people from the gray zone to show up and speak at their rallies, which is big when you know independent media. I'm telling you, the day in front of the Department of Justice when we were having that cake and whatnot, Anya showed up, and then I saw Max get out of a car. He was running up. He was smiling. Yeah. He was so happy that they denied extradition to the United States because the people who invented war said that our prisons are too rough. Yeah. But, I mean, what I talked about Steve today is kind of a little bit of an update, and go to Action for Assange. And, they have their show today.
Her show is called Facts on the Ground.
Facts on the Ground. Yeah. That's awesome. But even what they're doing right now is pretty much that they denied bail, that now they want to drag their feet. They pretty much essentially want Julian to die in jail. Yeah. And they want to prove, the deep state or the powers that may be want to show you, don't you ever speak up against us or we'll make sure you die in a prison. So that's what they're doing now. That's their game. They can delay this stuff, knock this stuff back, and it will be years before he gets an appeal to get out on bail. So it's really a sad moment for Julian Assange. And Andrea just tipped us a Super Ray. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea.
Andrea, you're amazing. So
Andrea.
Oh, we got some more. Look, as soon as we're about to get out of here, people start coming at us. Ono Kaikala Ono. Thank you so much. Thanks for being you. Thank you for being you. Mahalo Ono.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Mahalo Ono.
I can't read that either.
The Italian Stallion. I'm here. Love you, Italian Stallion. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to like, you got to share, you got to subscribe. As you see today, we have half the watchers we were watching than yesterday. Not that we're feeling upset that are kind of bragging and stuff like that, but we know we're getting suppressed across the board.
Well, election integrity also isn't everybody's favorite sexy topic. But again, like, this is why when we're accused of only covering things for clicks, if that were the case, I would be on Bernie's dick, AOC's dick. I'm sorry for my language. I'm just getting a little bit tired of that. Like, we would all be saying, oh, they're doing so great, let's be cheerleaders, yay, let's cheer for the Democratic Party, yay. That gets you clicks and likes, ladies and gentlemen. What we do does not, especially when we're talking about the security state and when we're talking about the election integrity. Those two topics are the loneliest topics, and this is why we are friends. We know what they feel when they talk about Assange, because nobody wants to listen to these things, and these are the most important things.
They'd rather us go over tweets from your Yas queens of the fraud squad and Bernie Sanders talking about everybody gets a free Knish. Slow news day, just dropped some news. Hey, everybody, just announced, that's my Steve voice, that The Intercept fired co-founder Laura Poitras. She's fired.
Oh,
She's
really?
gone. She's out of there.
Poitras.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And Jeff M., thank you for the Super Ray. And it is a Super Ray, Steve. Go back and watch Steve's show today. I can't tell you enough.
Yeah, when he's going to be on the show
soon. Yes.
Yeah,
it was
he'll
just
be here
amazing,
soon.
And that's great. And it's so funny because, like, we were talking about the election stuff, and we're like, you don't have any evidence. You don't have any proof. But you just had an article saying that the Iowa app, that the DNC was connected to the people making the app. So you're saying they're guilty of rigging by association. Right. Meanwhile, we have Whitney Webb come on the show and talk about these machines that have the signature verification and how they're connected to people in the Democratic Party and the government. Same thing with the Dominion. So why is your evidence more sound than ours?
Right.
Yours is guilty by association, but it's Bernie. And ours is guilty by association with a lot more lines, more money lines. But ours is just
it's
speculation.
Trump.
Because it's Trump.
Yeah. Get out of your feelings. Think logically. Feelings are great when, when you're like, when you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend or whatever, or a dog. I love my dog more than anything. But when it comes to assessing politics and assessing these things, your feelings get in the way, and it's not the same thing as intuition. Your intuition is always good, but
yeah. By the way, Audi MRR endorsed Niko's channel today. Love you guys. We love you too. We need some endorsements, ladies and gentlemen. We got 84. We need to get to 100. It's our goal for February. So help us out. Endorse us. And plus, when you're doing this in Rokfin, you're actually empowering independent media. Okay? Yeah. Remember, this is the channel that we started off, we did the debates on when the MSNBC and all the other jerk-offs were shutting us down and silencing our voice for what used to be the Fair Use Act in the public square, that when it's a debate for who's going to be the leader of the free world, you're allowed to show that and talk about that and analyze that. Well, they're shutting us down over there. Over here, they're helping us out. So help independent media. We need your help, ladies and gentlemen. We love you. We thank you. We can't tell you enough. Mike Pence also has feelings, is what Steve just said.
I 100% believe he's suppressing things, Steve. I agree with you there.
All right. That's it, Johnny. You got anything else?
Is that it?
That was Yeah, I said Ona. Kakala Ono, thank you for the super. It says, thanks for being you. I talked to Ona. I said, mahalo, Ono. We love you. All right, Johnny, what is that Intercept thing you got over there? You want to show that real quick or no? All right, ladies and gentlemen. So that's it. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow. We love you. Thank you so much for joining on in. Go over to our Patreons if you want to help us out and be a Patreon. We have about, we're getting up there in memberships, and that's awesome. And if you want to endorse us on Rokfin as well, that will be greatly appreciated.
Whatever you can do.
Yeah.
Even if you can just watch the situation.
If all you can do is watch and then watch, like, share, and subscribe, we'll cut this video up like we cut up all our other videos. So for Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Jonny Sue, thank God I'm a convo boy. Woo!
Convo out.